Managing your inbox can be a very time-consuming task, especially if you get a lot of emails a day. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to use Claude Cowork to manage your entire Gmail so that you can spend less time managing emails and more time doing work that matters. This episode is all about making email management a lot easier. We're going to learn how to use Claude Cowork to triage our email, find emails that are buried for months, and even be able to draft email so we can review it and send it later. And as always, if you enjoy content like this, please share, like, and subscribe for more. Now, if you're ready, let's get started. Let's move on to the actual content of today. So I'm going to talk about how it works. We're going to go into sort of an intro to Claude Cowork, but I feel like I've done this quite a bit with everyone, so I will just not spend too much time with it. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Cowork, but I have this just in case we have somebody new anytime that comes in. They just get quickly caught up, and then we'll do setup connections and all that stuff, and I'll talk about Claude MDs and all that because that we're going to be using. Okay, and then we'll talk about some use cases as well. Okay, all right. Quickly, let's talk about why this matters. Here's an inbox that I'm going to show you later today. This is the inbox, which is a little bit changed. This is what we're going to get to. But this is the inbox before anything's changed. Now, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, bring it forward. As you can see, it's just emails just dumped. This is a real email. It's one of my beverage business that I do. And I got some labels going on the side, but it's just trying to categorize certain things. This is not ultimately the way you want it. Most people may not even look like this. This is like the worst version of it, right? Some people have labels already organized and everything like that. So, but for the most part, this is the bottom level that we're starting with, and we want to get this to a point where it's organized. Okay. Um, and the reason is because when you open up your email, you don't want it to show up to something like this. You want to have some level of organization that tells you, okay, this is an email I need to read today. This is one that I can, leave for later after work, maybe in the evening, I can look at. And these are some follow-ups, for instance, that I need to address if they're not responding or I need to follow up, right? But this whole thing can be a ton of work on top of your regular day job that you're doing, right? So a bit of grunt work. And whenever I think of grunt work, I think of, how can AI help with this? So, sifting through emails even can take time. You remember, if you have something like this and I got to find something and I got an email a week ago and I haven't been a chance to look through my emails and then I got to find it. It takes time, right? Before you have to sit through and look for it or type in the search box and hope, you can remember a keyword in the email that you can find it. We can use AI to help us find emails, right? We get a lot of newsletters now, right? You can use workflows and AI to summarize those, send us an email, and then basically put those newsletters that come in a specific label through some kind of a filtering process that Gmail allows you, and that way you just get the response about like what's in that newsletter as a summary, right? And there's a bunch of things you can do with that. But what the most important part here is that we last year the world of AI revolved around tools that were predominantly around automation. So Mind Studio, N8N, which I'm sure you've heard of it a lot. This was the most popular one out there. Crew AI, Retool. It was all about workflow automation. And now things are moving in a very different direction. We're going in a direction, still early days, but I think the speed of things are going, this is going to become kind of a normal as this became, where now you have things like OpenClaw. If you're familiar with that, if you've heard of it, it's sort of like an autonomous agent that cleans your inbox, sends emails, does a bunch of things for you just through your phone. You can just talk to it. And so as these tools start connecting better to each other, and this is complicated to set up, by the way. It's not as easy as people make it sound like. And you can make mistakes and stuff. So, but these tools are going to get easier to set up. And there's a lot of work being done right now to do that. Hermes agent is another one, another version of this. Claude Code has also done Dispatch. This may be a little blurry, but Dispatch is another feature of Claude, sorry, that you can do, that you can talk to your desktop and have it do things for you, right? And when we're working with Cowork, remember, all our stuff is on our desktop. And it has these connections that we're going to set up, like Gmail. and it can do things. So the information is on our desktop, the connections are already made. I mean, the world's your oyster here, right? So that's the thing. And I'll show you another one that's in the works right now. This is Google with their keynotes that just came, I think it was last month or the month before, their keynote. This is Gemini Spark. It's in the works. It's coming. It's another version of those things. So remember, Claude is working on it. There's independent companies working on it. Google's working on it. You're going to be doing like basically this is going to be the future of computing. And so things are just, tech is like a bit of a cat and mouse game. It's just constantly evolving. And so I'm just letting you guys know this is another reason why this is important. Is just start getting used to setting up your workflow for this kind of world. So you're not doing a bunch of work and then, setting yourself up. Now I got to completely change everything. Just look ahead and see where things are headed and set up in that direction. Okay. Um, okay. So going to theory. And by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to throw it in the chat. I will keep an eye on it as we go. Okay. So how it works. So we're going to start with Gmail. Before we can get to Claude Code, we're going to start with Gmail and we're going to create some labels. Okay. The three labels that we're going to basically start with, and I'm going to get you guys to, is a follow-up label, an awaiting response email, and need to read. These labels are easy to make. I'll show you in a second how it's done. And the idea is to give some guideline to Claude Code so that when it's organizing your email, it's able to triage it based on these filters. These filters are something that I'm kind of recommending. You don't have to do it this way, or you can have more filters. Okay. But the idea here is to take this massive amount of inbox information that you see here and triage it in a separate panel that can show you, okay, this is the stuff that is awaiting response awaiting response. This is something I need to read and then follow. And then we color code it as well. Okay. And then we can do a bunch of things. Once we have things organized, man, it just becomes easier for Claude to do things. Once, obviously, it can triage it for you based on however number of emails. You can tell it, hey, triage it based on these labels. Go ahead and label everything, and then you can teach it. It may not be perfect the first time, so it might do something. It'll ask you, and then you can say, okay, you know what? I know you put this label on this, but it's actually supposed to be this. And next time it'll learn to do that, and you can actually ask it to update the skill or the Claude MD file for that as well. Okay. We can find emails. As I said, sometimes it takes time. We can also draft replies. Now, Claude Code, Cowork, should be Cowork over there. Cowork cannot send emails on your for you. It can draft the replies, and then you go in and reply. Just so you can. It's not one of the features that you can do. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm gonna show you this 1 second. Okay. Before I do that, let me stick on the subject of the inbox. Okay. And I'm gonna get you exposed to it so that in the later slides you can see what I need. So over on the left-hand side, you can see I have a label here awaiting responses. Super easy to create labels. If you haven't done it before, you just press the plus sign and then you create a new label. Labels are like you can think of it kind of like folders. They hold certain emails, but they could also live in your inbox as well. So you just kind of tag it in a way, and then if you click this label, all the emails with that label shows up. My recommendation is to put like a bracket around the name. So in this case, when we did awaiting response, let me say, where is the edit? Yeah. What happens is that when you put brackets, it stays at the top of the list, even if there's like, so it won't get affected by the alphabetical order that's here, okay? And that allows you to kind of quickly see your labels. And if you have other labels, you'll be at the bottom, okay? So the other thing is like, just color code it as well, right? Click on it, and then you can label the color, whatever you like. And this is just the color coding that I've picked. So you have these set up here. Okay, next is to then go over here to settings and then go down to multiple inboxes. Okay, And once you get to here, you're going to see this section, multiple inboxes sections. This is that side panel that I talked about a little bit earlier, is where we're going to then take everything that is under this label and show it on the side panel. Okay. And show you in a second what that'll look like. But essentially, you're going to write label, colon, and then the name of the label. Okay, and then you have like a section name, whatever name you want. Obviously, it would be the same name as this, but this is just natural language. You just put whatever you want. But this is the terminology. And now, by the way, in the resources, you'll see this. You'll have this so that you can just copy it, so you don't have to worry about if you forget. But this is what you set up. Now, I also have drafts and start. Now, this is generally like what was in Gmail to begin with, but I kept it anyway. So once you do that, you can decide if you want that section that I talked to you about where these are going to be located. You want it at the top, below. I like it at the right. It just makes it easier for me to see. You can decide whatever you like. Once you do that, you press Save Changes down here. And then we're going to go back to our inbox. And this is what you're going to end up with. Now, for you, it's going to be empty because nothing is labeled yet, right? Now, I have is starred. So if I ever star anything, it'll fall over here, right? So sometimes it could be easy. I can tell Claude, hey, I'm looking for this email. And this is an example. I'll show you guys later. I'm looking for this email, but I can't find it. It had this word in it. He was talking about this. Can you star it and then so I can find it? It'll star it and it'll show up in your stars, right? Super easy to find stuff. If you have drafts, remember, you can write drafts for you. So it will get it to create a draft for this particular email. It'll throw it right here. Again, easy to access for you. You could go obviously over here and look for it, but we have something over here that for us. It's sort of like our control panel. Over here is where all our labels are located, as you see, awaiting response. And all of these here is what Claude did for me. I did not go manually and do this. I could go click on it, go over here, labels, manually, apply the label. Here it is, here they are, right? But why would I do that when I can get Claude to do it? And so once we do all of this, everything sits over here, and then we can then decide, schedule our time when we want to address these different labels. Follow-ups, obviously, these are things that need to be followed up on. We'll worry about it sometimes. These are things that need to be read, right? And then these are things that need response. So these are maybe a little bit of an urgency behind these, right? So yeah, so this is how you kind of do things, okay? And you're going to get more exposure to this in a second. Let's quickly go into Claude Cowork and how that's going to get set up. So we got just a general idea of like what the Gmail thing is going to look like. Let's look at the Cowork as well, and then we'll put it together in a second. So Cowork works off of your desktop. So you need a folder on your desktop. And so we'll have a kind of a root folder that will just name whatever we want. I called it, Claude Cowork root, whatever you want to go. And essentially, in Cowork, you want to have sort of a global Claude MD. Here's Cowork, right? And if you go to settings, if you haven't done this already, please do. You go to Cowork, global instructions, and then you'll throw in this set of instructions. This is something that I've set up. You can be whatever you want. This is something that you would like to apply to every session that you do in Claude. It's the first thing you read. It is your global MD file, okay? It's just instructions for it. If you, by the way, just so I mentioned, if you're completely new to Claude Cowork, I do have a course a session that I did on this. So please go just look me up on Maven. You'll see one that talk about Claude Cowork foundations, and it'll go a little bit more deeper on this subject. So if you're confused on this subject, but once we have that, we have a folder, and then we have sort of an email workstation. We have these workstations because we want to split the work that we do in Claude, in our Claude Cowork. I might have another. So you can think of these as like projects, right? It's kind of like compartmentalizing things. I might have marketing. I might have finance, fitness, right? These are different workstations, and they're all going to have different types of instructions inside them because they're all going to have different projects inside them. So we'll create another folder called project. I call it email manager. And let me show you what that kind of, I guess, looks like. So I just got one on the desktop here, sorry, on the downloads folder, just for the demo purposes. So here, email workstation. So that's our workstation, right? And you go into it, you got the email organizer folder, right? Or I call it email organizer. Okay, she could be email manager. Let me just change it. It doesn't look confusing. Or you know what? I have it this in Cowork. I don't want to confuse Cowork, so let me leave it for now. We'll change it here. Okay, so anyway, that's the idea. And then once we have that, we go inside this project. Let me open up the folder again, just so you see. And then we're in this, and you see there's a Claude MD file in there that I've created already, and I'll show you what that looks like. But essentially, we're working out of here. Why do we work out of here? Because the moment we open up this folder, this Claude MD file gets read. And we want to make sure we conserve tokens because this has a set of instructions specifically for this kind of work that we're doing. Okay, we don't want to throw this inside this because we don't want this to run with all the tokens that it consumes across all our work, right? So that's why we work inside these folders. And then we'll have a skill MD file that I've also put together that it will be part of Cowork that we'll call as we go. Okay, so that's basically the structure that we're going to be working with. And over here, all I'm just trying to mention is that one of the ways to save yourself some time is when you make a Claude MD, think about it in such a way where you might use it across the board in doing different things. So maybe this is for email, for your maybe you're writing emails for a particular company and you want a particular way that you want to write it or things that you want to put in there. Maybe you have a blurb at the bottom and say this is for privacy purposes or something like that. Like so you make it in such a way where it's modular. You can customize it easily, transfer it over. So you're not writing it all over again, right? And you can have all these different changes, things inside it. You can write tone MD, you can voice MD, you can about MD, you can split it, and then you can use Claude to call these files. Okay, so you don't have to put everything inside the Claude MD. You can split the information out and then you use Claude to route into these. All you have to do is just mention in the Claude MD. It's like when I say this, read this MD file, right? Again, it saves you some tokens that you don't have to necessarily do. Okay. Moving on. And then the third component of this, so we got our Gmail, we got the labels set up, and we got our multiple things here, right? Multiple inboxes set up. We got our Claude Code workstation, Claude Cowork workstation set up, and then we're gonna do the connection. And super easy. You go to customize, connectors, and then you'll click on Gmail. Okay, sometimes it's even listed right here. You click on Gmail, and it'll walk you through and open up your basically window pops up. Gmail, ask you for verification. You do it, you log in, and I see here. Once you get here, you got all these permission options. And these are the default settings, but you can do whatever you want. If you don't want the approval on certain things, you can just toggle between these. But right now, these are all, everything that I do requires approval first. And this might be a good thing because you don't want to accidentally do something and then regret it. So always in the beginning, especially when you're first playing around with it, just have everything on approval. Some things like read only, you don't need to worry about it. It's just reading it, right? So that is that to connect. And as you can see, there's other things that you can set up as well. You can do a Google Calendar. Just earlier today, I signed up for a Microsoft training event for using Foundry to do some AI agent work. And when they send a reply email as like, you signed up, thank you, here's a link to add it to your calendar. It didn't connect to my calendar. It wasn't a very good link. All I did was grab the text, dropped it in Cowork and say, hey, throw this in my calendar. It took 2 seconds to get that event with the event link in my calendar rather than, me going in and doing it, right? So this is the kind of stuff you can do. And with Slack is a good thing too, because you can do notifications, right? We can say, we'll talk about automation as sort of the scheduling stuff. And if you have Slack set up and you can just really make a free Slack account, it'll just send you a text message almost, right? Through Slack and let you know any kind of notification that you want to know, right? Or updates about emails, right? So you can run this on a regular basis. Okay. So that is that. Let's continue on. And then, yeah, that covers that. So we covered this, right? We did the follow-up, awaiting response, need to read, right? We have our labels now. We did the customization. We did this, right? We've done this. We're basically set up, and we're going to try to bring it together. And essentially, what we had originally, I'm going to show you what it looked like before. This was before, right? We saw this. And then this was after, right here. It's still the way it is. This is what it looked like after, once we add the labels. And then finally, bring it forward. We have this setup that you just saw right now. Okay? And this is prior to me applying those labels. As you can see, we don't have any labels here, but this is what it'll look like right here. Okay. Yes, you do need the Claude desktop application for this. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, you could use Claude Code, and I always mix these terms up because they're just too close to each other. But um, I think it'll be easier. It's Claude Code will make it a little bit more complicated. And I'll show you why. I mean, because you can create projects inside Cowork. This is a type of work that you don't necessarily need memory. Um, it doesn't need to be too complicated. And so it can just stay contained within one area. It's a very simple task about organizing your Gmail. So it'll be easier for you. And then you can do stuff like scheduling, right? It gives you a little more. This particular use case, Cowork is better. So you definitely need the desktop app for this. Um, and by the way, the desktop app is just phenomenal. One of the things about it too, keep in mind, is that if you want to run certain things like the on a schedule basis, you do need the desktop app to stay open. That's one of the requirements. So you can't close it. So it might be a companion you might just have on all the time. So that's why I recommend do it. Um, the chat also connects to Gmail. You can probably do it out of there, but when it comes to Claude MDs and stuff like that, remember the chat can't necessarily, you have to upload it, right? So that's why it helps to work out of the station. I explained this already, so I think it might be just kind of a duplicate slide, but we have a skill in our workflow, okay? Um, and I'm going to show you what the skill looks like. So when you're going to get to skills, customize skills, okay? You'll see all your skills, email triage. There it is right here. Can it? Let me see if I can just open it up so you can see it easier. 1 second. And you'll get it as well in the oh, it doesn't like the skills. Okay, I'm gonna change it to MD. See if it'll show. Yeah. Once it changes to skill, there's a particular encoding in it. But anyway, look, the idea here is that it uh, looks through my email and it basically applies these labels to them. And it has a logic that's built into it that it determines what um, what you should decide on. Here's for awaiting response, need to read. And as you're doing this, for your particular use case, you can update and improve it and all that kind of stuff, right? And make it better. Um, Here's like classify each thread, right? It goes through over and it's got some examples in it. How did I make this? Honestly, I played around with the some of the emails that I had, and I gave it the instructions to go and do label, and then went back and forth. That's it. Remember, Claude has a way to build its own skills. He has a skill creator. So that's how I went through the process of making this skill. Okay, so you got the skill, and then we have this Claude MD file that show you in a second right here that is writing in my voice. So remember, the Claude MD opens up or it gets read the moment you open up. Now, this project we're working on is for writing emails. So it only makes sense that the Claude MD is focused around writing emails. So that's why it's focused around writing in my voice. And I gave it. How did I come up with this? Well, I used this writing right here. Where is it? Oh, my things just close on their own. I use this prompt right here, and you'll get this too, is what I said, I'm going to give you 5 samples of my writing. What I did, I just grabbed some emails that I've personally written, right, in fairly decent length, right? And I gave it to it. And I said, okay, take this and then create a Claude MD file in this folder, update it with the pattern that you found, right? So I gave it a prompt, give my emails, and then created this. All right. So I'll give you guys this, but I'll give you the prompt as well so you can, do what you got to do and make your version of it. But that's basically the 2 tools that we have here, right? The skill is for the logic work. The Claude MD is for the tone, the writing, the style, and all that kind of stuff, right? And we'll call the skill anytime we want, right? And then scheduling, and I'll show you this later. Okay. So let's go into our use cases and I'll show you how that works. Now, I ran it. I didn't want to do sort of these like live tasks in front of you where it's like uh, we get stuck or the computer freezes or something like that. So I ran a few just to show you. But one of the things I recommend, there's multiple ways to get to start. You can either just create a new task, go to work out of a project, and then just select your folder. You could just do it that way. Or you can go and create a project and open up the folder. So when you go a new project, you can just say, use an existing folder, choose a folder, and then you can go ahead and select your folder, and it'll basically do what I just did right here. Okay. And in this project, you'll have all the different chats that you've had with it. And one of the things about the projects is, whether or not in this situation it doesn't really matter, is it does have a memory feature that it'll save automatically on your desktop in your root Claude folder that you, when you originally download yours, it'll have, and you can actually look for it where that is as well. Okay. But anyway, here's one example. So, in my skill, I just said, when I say triage my inbox, you're going to run this skill, right? Like that's one of the keywords kind of like you want to say, like the phrases that I've put in there. So triage my inbox for all the remaining emails that have not yet been triaged for the month of June. And so what it does is I got the labels. Now let me fetch the information. It went through, looked through all my emails, decided what needs to be labeled, and then applied the labels to it. Remember, see, this is need to read, this is a need to read, and then it'll ask you whether or not does this look right, say apply, and then I'll apply. So you get a chance to actually chat with it and make sure that this is going to be okay before you do it. Now, here's an example right here. Payments, no reply, skipped it because it was automated. Now at this point, I can tell it, you know what? No, this is something that needs reply, let's say. Put it in that category. And so next time it'll learn. And then I can also say update the skill so that when you see something like this, particularly, don't say skipped. Okay. And then, yeah. Chat is like an assistant you have to onboard every day. Cowork needs to be taught just once. Exactly. That's another benefit of mine, benefit of you working with Cowork. Um, and and another thing about it is that, as I talked to you guys about, is that these agents that the world that we're going into, where it's going to be agents, uh, they may need access to your computer. So you may need to store some of your stuff, your Claude MDs and stuff on your desktop so you can easily access it. Because you may not necessarily only use in the future, you may not just use Cowork to do this task. You may be out at dinner and you're sitting in front of an interview in front of somebody and they say, you know what? I really like you. Why don't you send me your resume? And then you say, no problem. You message your agent and they'll send in the email, goes to your desktop, finds the email, writes something good for you to. It's like, by the time dessert comes, the email is in front of the person in front of you, and then you can, say, you know what, just open it up, let's talk about it right now. You know, just hypothetical situation. But as you can see, it went ahead and did all this stuff and it tagged it. So that's one use case. Um, I'm going to go back into another situation that we did here. Oh, this is this one. Okay, so this was my first for this particular inbox that I wanted to kind of show you guys that just to run it. Triage my inbox. That's the keyword. It went through and it did all this stuff. Okay. And then I said apply. And I said, for that North American Receivable Management Services, can you write a draft reply email saying that I will call in and pay in my voice? So I have something that's due, and I'm going to go back to it and I'll show you my drafts. North American Receivable Management Services. This is the draft that I put together. Okay. And I can just go in quickly, send it, save him some time, right? Um, let's go open up and see what else we did. And then it said there was an email from Brickworth Beverages about sugar cookie. Can you start it and tell me what date it was sent to me? I'm having a hard time finding it. Remember I talked to you guys that you can do that? So we'll go back here, go back to inbox, go to stars. That's what it does for me. Sugar cookie beverages start. Oh, there it is now. So I can find them again. And it'll even tell you found it. This is the company. Actually corrected me because I wrote it. I wrote the name wrong, right? And he just found it and everything, and then even told me the date. Starting it now. Done. Start. Right? So I could be doing something else, get it to do this, sort of like your assistant, right? Like you have your personal assistant in front of you. And then we say, can we schedule an email to be sent tomorrow to this email, which is the same email, and write test subject and body text. I wonder if I still have it here. Um, I may have deleted it. I may have deleted, but that's another feature, that thing that you can do, right? You can schedule, you can ask it to email send, and it'll sit in the. Oh, this is the thing I want to double check is that can it send if they made an update or something? Because from what I read, they can't. That was the whole point. So it can do a scheduling for you. That's why it doesn't exist. Okay. So final thing I want to talk about is scheduling stuff. Here's a prompt that you can use for triaging. Remember, Claude Cowork must be open for this to work. But essentially, you can tell it to uh, use my email triage skill and check in any emails that I receive from me, alert me once or those, and you can set up how it's going to alert you. Normally, if you create a schedule, it'll fall in right here, schedules. Okay. I had a few and I deleted it. Should have kept it. But anyway, um, when you create a schedule, it'll fall over here and you'll just get it like a pop-up notification. There's no sound, there's no nothing, unfortunately. But that's why I recommend if you want to create something schedule, you can also add in, send me a Slack notification. And then you'll get a notification as well once it's done. And so you can stay on top of your emails that way as well. Every round that it's done something, it can tell you that it did it, or it can give you some kind of summary. You can set up sort of a morning briefing later and say, listen, every morning, just tell me my emails, quick little two-liner summary of what I just received, just so I can and send it to me on Slack so I can just quickly look through it and then also triage those emails as well. So when you come to your desk in the morning, everything is triaged properly for you. You already know what you're looking at, so you move a little bit more efficiently in the morning. Um, and so that's what that is. Super easy. I could sit here, guys, make you do a schedule with you, but it's like the easiest thing in the world. If you haven't done it, I recommend it. You don't even have to do it through here. By the way, like you can do it manually or get create with Claude here as well. Or the easiest way is once you're inside your project, whether you're doing here or just a regular new task that you're doing, just ask it to do it right here. Use that prompt that I told you, I showed you earlier, and you'll get it in the resources too. Okay. So yeah, that's basically it.